G'day guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Danny Bird. I'm a PGA professional based here at the Cobra Golf Club in southeast Queensland, Australia. Today we're going to be discussing improving our iron strike, specifically for those of you who are hitting the ground before the golf ball with your irons. What's the cause? What's the correction? What's the training work we need to do? And how long can we expect it to take for us to see those improvements occur? Okay, so if you're struggling with poor striking, you're not going to do it all the time, so you're going to have some matchups. Let's discuss those matchups very quickly. The number one matchup we tend to see with players who often will kind of hit the ground before the golf ball is that the left arm begins to pull up and away. The chicken wing action. We all know it, we've all heard about it. I'm sure many of you guys are either aware that you do it or you're aware of someone who does. This essentially enables us to pull the club away from the ground, trying to pick the golf ball off the surface. It is less than ideal, but it certainly can work. And there have been players that have shown it to work. So it's not a deal breaker because you have a bit of a chicken wing motion in your swing. You can still hit the golf ball relatively well, and you can probably carry a relatively good handicap, but it isn't the most functional way to move. The second matchup that we tend to see for players who, are hitting the ground early, more often than not, we actually see a lateral shift of the left shoulder way too fast and way too early towards the target. Why? Well, because this now shifts low point in front of the golf ball, which means we're far more likely to collect the golf ball before we collect the ground. However, that particular matchup, when we see players do, as they drive and lunge forwards, they're quite often got the club face open. So it tends to be the player ends up hitting a high kind of push cut block. Yes, it's a matchup. Yes, we avoid making contact with the ground so early, but again, it's a little less than ideal matchup. So let's look at two common mistakes that end up causing players to hit the ground early. Number one, and this one is very prevalent for a lot of players, we hear players trying to maintain lag. Now we see this motion here, this kind of trying to maintain lag here by keeping the wrist angles set, by trying to keep the club trailing way behind the body line. All that ends up happening for a lot of players when they try to maintain this lag through here is they end up lowering down and they collect the ground way too early. Yes, we'd love to have lag in the golf swing, but it's got to be done the appropriate way. That's for another video. Trying to maintain lag, number one reason why we tend to see players hitting the ground. The second reason, and this is again really prevalent for many players, is pressure on the back foot. We tend to see players trying to get the ball airborne with their irons more, and they apply pressure down and through the back foot. And as a result, if the arms lengthen, they're going to connect the ground early. So pressure goes back, matchup number one kicks in. Pull the arms up and away to avoid that, early contact with the ground. So again, there are matchups for what we do, but it's the incorrect motion. Those are the two main reasons that we tend to see players catching the ground early. Pressure on the right side and then trying to maintain lag, which ultimately puts pressure back on that right side. So what's the correct move? What should we be looking to do to ensure that we can strike our irons that much purer? So the correct move is a very simple one. As we start our downswing, we want the left hip here to push towards target an inch and a half, and then we rotate through. That shifting of the hip, that inch and a half towards target, will help us move the low point ever so slightly forward, which essentially is going to put it, just ahead of the golf ball, meaning that we are going to collect the golf ball beautifully on the downward attack angle and then catch the turf. And in the rotation part, actually allows us to continue to kind of shallow that movement through. This is the important part. If we simply bump forward and then we don't rotate, the club's going to travel down and keep going down. That rotation is essentially what's going to help us pull the club away from the ground. It's also going to give us power and many other things, but for the purpose of this video, it's a inch and a half bump forward, and then we rotate the body through in that order. But what's the training drill that we should be doing or can do in order to make this happen? Very simple, very easy. You guys are going to love it. We're going to discuss it right now. Okay, so this training drill is best done with a golf ball and a tee, and again done at half speed. You'll see a lot of my videos I talk about half speed training. I found it to be so successful for so many players. I know it can be successful for you too. What we're going to do, Let's take our 7-iron here, we need an alignment stick. I'm gonna get myself into my setup position. And then what I'm gonna do is gonna place, you can see here, almost just on the outside of my left foot here. I'm gonna take this alignment stick here, once I get into my setup position, I'm going to push it down into the ground. So you can see here, and then you'll also notice that it's kind of, I want it to be ideally below the hip line. So bang on our hip line there, that's perfect. So we've got a bit of a gap here because of the location it's positioned, but it's within that sort of 1.5 inches of the left knee here. What we're then going to do is we're going to swing to the top of our backswing, and then we simply want to bump forward. I make connection with the alignment stick, and then I rotate through, trying to ensure that the outside of my left leg remains connected and in contact with the alignment stick. You have the golf ball on the tee because that allows us to push and move through slowly. It gives us the opportunity to build the correct feeling. Now this is really important. We want the feeling to be correct because the feeling is what we can take to the golf course. The feeling is what we're going to be able to use to identify if we're actually making the movement correct beyond videoing ourselves. So very simply, alignment stick on the outside of the left foot, which will position it, and if it's tight against that left side here, and you get into your setup position, as you work to the top of the backswing there and you kind of push forward, you can have that kind of 1.5 inch push, rotate through to finish. With the golf ball on the tee, we're going to see some improved movement. As we get confident, two things we can begin to do. We can remove the tee, half-speed golf balls off of the ground, and then build up to full speed swings. But it's so important that we do this particular drill at half speed and on a tee if we want to see the biggest impact of change. Okay, coach, give us a time frame. How long will this movement take to change? Guys, this is one of the more easy movements in which to change. I would say somewhere between 3 to 5 weeks with the appropriate level of training. If you're training correctly, if you're training to start off at half speed and then you build up and you can train at least twice a week, you're looking into sort of 3 to 5 weeks from past experience working with the players I've worked with. As always, guys, I appreciate you taking time to watch today's video. I really do hope it's helping your iron striking in some way. I do hope that you find the information helpful. Please give it a like if you found the information, useful for your game. Don't forget, if you've got friends that need some help, please share the video with them. Let them know that there is someone out there that's able to help them with their game. Please feel free to leave a comment. You'll see in other videos that I do get back to comments, and I'm more than happy to engage if you have a question about today's video, past videos, or even just a general golf question. I'll be more than happy to help if I can. Guys, I also have my own online academy, so don't forget to go check it out. It's at my website, which you can find up here. We add courses every single month, and these courses are designed to help you with your golf game. And these courses contain up to 30+ videos specifically tailored to help you with every aspect, from setup through to the action, through to training, through to games that you can play in order to improve whatever aspect of your game you're struggling with. Until next time, guys, happy golfing.